Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. Wednesday, strange day for a cast to be put out, I know. Didn't manage to get one out yesterday. For those of you that don't know, I've got my mother down staying with us. Essentially, Mrs. Guile looks set to drop any day now. Soon we will have baby Clinkhammer among us. I can feel it in my bones. As such, the mother is down to help, playing havoc with the schedule just a little bit, but making up for today, got some custom 4v4 action. Eclectic mix of Joes and Pros, going to be just above the Joe cutoff level though, therefore won't be labelled as an average Joes. Side note though, before we roll on with today's action, guys, if you like playing campaign stuff or like kind of AI related scenarios, if you don't know already, Speed 2 and Exotic Retard have been working on a little scenario, not so little actually, it's quite brutal in its current form, and admittedly it's very much kind of late alpha, early beta, as is a lot of work still to do on it, but I've also been providing the vocals to it. I play your average asshat UEF commander shouting at very ill-advised advice down the old radio waves there. And a lot of work needs to be done, as I say, not just on the mission, but also on the vocals and continuity issues between them. So it's very early days, but if you can restrain yourself from being overly critical and feel like you would like to give it a go, the link should be in the description below this video to the forum thread where you can get a copy of that. And if it's not, you know what to do. Just yell at me and say, "Guile, you douche, you forgot the link," and I will know what you mean and immediately put it in place. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get on with today's game. It's going to be a custom 4v4 as we said, and that action is going to take place on Canis 4v4 Special or Spezial Edition. So let's go on over to the game zone and see how these guys are going to get on. So we know what we're dealing with here in terms of Canis. Let's take a look at our teams. We'll call this Team 1 up here at the top. There's Team 2 down here at the bottom. Going first for Team 1 up here at the top left in Hallyborange, it's Robo Danny. He's gone Seraphim, opening first land. To his right, my good friend Chevalier, and he is going Aeon in Regal Purple, opening first land. Team member number 3, last on the back row there for Team 1, it's Mr. Death in Electric Blue. He's chosen Cybern, his decision, opening first land. And last but not least, as we move to the front row there, lead player Embers in Baby Blue, also going Aeon, opening first land. So Team 1 consisting there of 2 Aeon, a Seraphim, and a Cybern. Let's take a look at Team 2 down here at the bottom. On the bottom right-hand corner, it's Soviet Pride in Spezial green, very fitting. UEF opening first land, and just to wind me up, he's renamed himself, misclicked, and gone UEF. He's trying to get a rise out of me, but it's not going to happen because I'm incredibly mature, and you know what? He's just ugly. There we go. Moving on to team member number 2 for Team 2. It's Cody's, also going UEF in Ferrari Red, opening first land. Last on the back row over here in Pontiff White, team member number 3 for Team 2. It's Hyoma, also going UEF and opening first land. And last but not least, as he makes his way out of his base, it's my good friend Chosen, his very customary Seraphim and his very customary yellow, mellow yellow. There we go. So opening first land, going second air. So Team 2 comprising of 3 UEF and 1 Seraphim. And on that basis, go Team 2. Not that I'm biased in any way, shape or form. So Robo Danny leaving his base very early indeed. You can see Soviet Pride heading out to his side of the map as well. But there is a big gulf between the two mirrors here, Robo Danny and Soviet Pride. His name, new name, misclicked and gone UF, is so long you can't actually see his rating. How incredibly irritating that is. But trust me, he's going to be like 1700 to 1900, that kind of level. I'm pretty certain of it. And I would guess he would have the most or the more efficient opening between the two. So I'm guessing that this might be a little bit early there for Danny to move out. But still, whatever, you never know. Some of these guys play this position or certain positions over and over again and do very little else. We will see what happens. Looks like a Mech Marine out there for Soviet Pride. Going to run headlong into a mole there if Mr. Death carries on that trajectory, which he doesn't. Mr. Death is moving out to the far eastern plateau. Got a couple of land factories queued out there. And I love this ballsy spirit here coming in from Embers, trying to chase down this Mech Marine. If that thing actually turns around, it gets slaughtered. But we do have a Mantis bearing down on that position as well. Nice pick up though from the Mech Marine. Kills the mole and will kill off intel for that region as well. Mr. Death actually redirecting his ACU, so that will be cancelling the land factories that he's scheduled to build over there to try and prevent this mech marine from scoring early engineer kills. A couple of vulnerable ones potentially over here if he was going to continue his trajectory, but instead he's going to wheel right, and he might actually be successful in scooping up an engineer kill there from Mr. Death. No, but Strange strays into visual range there from Mr. Death's ACU, who plucks it out of existence with a single blast of his hideous Cybran weaponry. But good job nonetheless. Robo Danny scores a kill on 3 very basic T1 units there from Hioma. He prevents any of those from getting a run by in and threatening the back line there. A little bit of airplay. A bomber from Chosen picking up 1 kill and then another. Can assume that was probably 2 engineers he managed to bag on that bombing run. So that bomber paying for itself just about. A bomber out there for Chevalier. Looks like it's going to team up with a couple of inties and make its way down that left of center portion of the map. A little bit of a face-off between 2 collections of T1 spam. This is going to be quite a mismatch here as well. Cody's on 1400 global, Ember's on 2000. Of course, Ember's mirror for this game is actually Chosen, but typically you get, because of the river, you get a lot of interaction there between the central back row player and the lead player on the other team, and of course vice versa as well. 2 conflict zones often end up being in this region of the map, but we will see how all of that progresses. That bomber manages to pick up 1 engineer kill and leads the target very nice on another. Missed an opportunity potentially to pick up a couple of engineers there from Hioma and Chosen. A couple of clumped NGs, always a nice kill to score a double kill there with 1 bomb. But Embers with a few Auroras floating across the river now, causing some problems for the outlying mexes there belonging to Chosen. He's trying to chase it down with 1 fan, but hideously outnumbered. Not going to get anything done with that. Chevalier still harassing from the skies, this time over on the eastern edge of the map, and that's Soviet Pride's forward base he's causing problems for up there, and also causing more issues in the middle. 5 kills now on that bomber. You can bet they're probably mostly engineers. That's going to slow up expansion there of Chosen quite significantly, and Ember's also pouring down the central section. Not usually my race of choice on a map like Canis. Not a huge amount of water, but he's certainly taking full advantage of the Aeon amphibious T1 tech here. Early game, applying as much pressure as he can. Another engineer, or a couple of engineers down for Chosen. A few T1 units coming in from Hioma. Those strikers, pound for pound of course, a lot more successful on the ground if they were in range of an equal number of Auroras, but certainly not equal in number there. Nevertheless, it looks like Embers is going to back up out of that fight. He's killed off the engineers and he's scored a couple of mech kills out of there as well. Doesn't need to push it any further than that. Might score a whole bunch more in terms of engineer kills though if he continues on the current trajectory. Down goes one of them. 3 more up here on their reclaim mission. Chosen might want to think about evacuating those pretty sharpish. There's a Seraphim engineer barbecue going on over there. I hear they're great with a cold brew and some prawns. And then suddenly all goes quiet. Cody's amassing a decent little front line of strikers there, and he's going to throw down an upgrade on his comm. That's going to finish any second. There it goes. I love Chosen's augmented notification mod there. Not sure exactly what it is. I guess that's probably T2 tech maybe. Installing Windows 2000 there. Let's see what he had. Well, he's got T2 tech on the comm. Has he got a gun as well? No, he doesn't. So that was just T2 tech on there. And Chosen enacting revenge on that band of Auroras causing so many problems earlier. That has finally been dispatched. Needs to get some engineers up there and reclaim that mechs ASAP. Taking a look at how things stand though on territory, and you can see, well, Soviet Pride being pretty aggressive with his ACU way out here. Got a few land units on the ground as well, but we do have some T2 static going in now there from Mr. Death. 2 Cerberus, or soon to be 2 Cerberus online. That's surely going to be enough to discourage Soviet Pride from hanging around. He's hoovering up mass that clearly doesn't belong to him, but we'll excuse it because, let's face it, all mass rightfully belongs to UEF. That's just the natural way of things. Yoma moving forward, though, killing a couple of engineers there belonging to Robo Danny. Danny not liking that at all. Is going to come in from the west. He's got gun on that ACU. Goes straight after a couple of Lobos, but look at the amount of Zuis he's brought with him. A few FAMs in there as well. And that's the first real major troop collision of the game. Chevalier's nearby with his ACU as well, so Yoma not going to get anything done here. No damage likely to be inflicted in that engagement. Decent amount of inties belonging to Cody's. Robo Danny going to chase them off with significantly less. Chevalier with a decent amount as well. A few ISILs there causing problems for Team 2's Air Force. But once again, Danny manages to secure his front line. That'll be the last striker in that little attack. Wow, but look at that for a counter push. Danny not happy about that. Senses a potential opening here, but did he overestimate his chances? There's a lot of T2 in here, and Yoma's ACU is there as well. We've got pillars, we've got Lobos. Danny down to 7,000 hit points, is trying to retreat. He has no reinforcements. That is the very definition of overextended. Danny down into the red, not getting out of this one, and Team 2 will take their first scalp in this one. It's the lowest rated player, 1,200, and that was a miscalculation. So advantage now, Team 2. Full share hopefully will be off, and all of his stuff will go pop. We'll give it a moment and see if that's what happens. Yes, it is. And that means this game is clear of all evil STDs. We like that. Cody's trying a push now up the center, no doubt buoyed by the loss of one of their opponents. Mr. Death trying to slow the progress down, but frankly doesn't have enough troops in the area. Question is, what, if anything, is Cody's going to do with this little advantage he's gained? Needs to be careful. There are Cerberus turrets going up here at the back. Will not have any clue about that, though. Take a look at what he can see. There's been no recent scouting over that area. And there goes Cerberus turret. Could really do with a couple of T1s in there as well. If Cody's is quick, might be able to potentially bust that Cerberus turret down. Although no Lobos in the mix, doesn't have the damage required. Soviet Pride came up there to assist as well with a much smaller group of forces. That's going to wheel right and try and inflict some damage on Mr. Death's eastern expansion. Again, running into superior forces though on the ground. Those rhinos in place. Mr. Death doing some nice work with some T2. What's left of Cody's fourth is going to backtrack and pressure Embers from behind, but an Oblivion turret is going to be taking pot shots at that force, and then a whole bunch of T1 and T2 coming in from the east there from Embers as well. That will be the end of that little attack. Still, a few engineers killed here and there, a few structures prevented from going online. A TMD was on the cards. We've got a little bit of a base creep here from Cody's. He's got a triad in place, and now he's been working on some TMD to counteract these Evensongs who've been flinging missiles in that direction. But as you can see, that Oblivion turret well in range of the TMD, or rather vice versa, I should say. So this forward base could well be doomed. Cody's facing off against a superior foe with bad positioning to begin with. Hasn't got anything set up further back. Has one PD operational. Is going to get that shield gen online. But it really will be a question of the more competent player there coming out victorious, I suspect. Meanwhile, over in the west, Hyoma taking advantage of the vacuum left by the departure of Danny from the game. A little push with an assortment of T1 and T2, but that's going to run into some Spectres, so a few gunships on the field now for Chevalier. Fortunately for him, no flak in this mix. He's going to be able to harass those units all the way back to base, should it suit him. And down goes that forward shield gen. One T1 PD in place. And everything else now out of range of that Oblivion turret. So that will be the end of that little push from Cody's. Get the impression those Evensongs could deal with that base were they to move forward just a smidgen. We do have another triad further back, but that won't last too long once the TMD is out. Cody's withdrawing to a much safer position. Exactly know where that is. Taking a look at how things line up now on the territory side of things. Well, map control still seems to be ever so slightly in Team 2's favour. Obviously, Team 1 losing a bit of defensive power on that side of the map, and Soviet Pride doing a nice job of pressuring the eastern portion of the map. Mr. Death has moved his ACU somewhere. There he is. He's gone right the way back to base. But not a great deal on the ground in terms of mobile forces there for Soviet Pride, so it's not like he can take advantage of that fact and risk trying to take the plateau. Mr. Death, on the other hand, does have a nice little mobile force, and that is moving down through the center and finally eliminating Cody's forward base. Soviet Pride going to move back into the breach to prepare to defend against that push. Meanwhile, over in the west, another push from Hyoma. This time it is equipped with skyboxers. Gunships aren't going to be so successful this time, should Chevalier choose them to attempt to repel this attack. But still, nice work from the Auroras, keeping that group of units at range, and as such picking them off despite them being a superior force on the ground. So good work there from Chevalier. Nice micro. You really can see the concern from Team 2 about the opening on this side of the map, so unlikely to see any more pushes up here from Soviet Pride. It's all been walled off pretty heavily. He's going to be forced to defend what really should be Cody's front line. Cody's has dropped right back, I'm assuming, to try and focus on airplay. Taking a quick look at Eco, Soviet Pride way out in the lead though, 143 mass per tick. Chevalier coming in second there. I think he was having power issues for a moment because that's jumped from 105 to 127 or 135. So he's in the number 2 spot, but not by much. And then everyone else sub 100. Hyoma on 81, Ember's on 66, Mr. Death on 82, Cody's on 80, and Chosen on 84. Interesting to see Ember's on 66. That's a lot lower than I would expect. Remember, he's in the same position as Chosen, who suddenly seems to have jumped over 100. Now we're starting to see some chariots airdropping units over this way, and we actually have some harbingers on the field there. One from Embers, who, with a little bit of micro, could cause some real damage up here. Yes, we've got a few pillars, but if he's quick, should be able to cause some problems. We actually have one even further forward, harassing one of Chosen's T2 mexes. Down that is going to go. And that drops Chosen down from 108 to 95. Chosen trying to chase that Harbinger down with his ACU. Harbinger sufficiently quicker on the ground to outrun him. And what, if anything, Team 2 got down here to deal with that? We're seeing an upgrade there from Cody's, who's trying to jump from T2 to T3. Chevalier now, of course, responsible for Robo Danny's old front. He needs to get some engineers up here to reclaim these mexes, but he's also responsible for the air game. That's already at T3. So Team 1 ahead on the air game, at least. See if that becomes pivotal or not. Meanwhile, over in the east, that forward group of units there for Mr. Death has a couple of trebuchets amongst those units, now harassing Soviet Pride's static emplacements, but we've also got a couple of demolishers there, the UEF equivalent for Soviet Pride, counter-harassing, so a little bit of exchange of mobile T3 artillery there in the center. And in fact, Mr. Death decides he doesn't want to sit around absorbing that fire, and instead is going to back up. A few pillars trying to chase down that Harbinger. Shield is down, but a quick kill on one of those pillars jumps him a rank of veterancy, grabbing a few more hit points. This could be really bad for Hyoma. Probably wants to think about getting his ACU down here. We're ready with an overcharge, but meanwhile another couple of Harbingers making life really difficult in the center there from Embers. And at the moment, these early T3 units seemingly Team 2 have no answer for, at least at the moment. Harbinger taking some long-range Ravager fire. Astonishingly, that seems to still be in range. Maybe not, just tipped back out of it. Down goes the T2 mechs up at the back, so Ember's doing some good work on the ground here as we approach the 20-minute mark in this game. And still we're getting a little bit of trebuchet fire coming in on Soviet Pride. That exchange carries on. Trebuchet just narrowly avoids getting destroyed there as a few of his comrades go up in smoke instead. Chevalier control K-ing his T1 P-gens up there at the back. And he has really rocketed in the last 5 minutes, leapfrogging into the lead. 225 mass per tick there, of course, has the extra eco advantage there of a deceased teammate. And Soviet Pride is taking full advantage of the Rambo stylies that a UEF com can give you. He looks pretty darn tanky there with that personal shield. Immediately starts working on a flare, T3 Sam in the water there, and then he's got a Ravager queued up, so we could see a little bit of a Ravager creep going on down the river here. Meanwhile, an advance of Percival's up the center. Probably wants to try and deal with those bricks first of all, but one problem is vision. Those Percys not opening up immediately, and now they find themselves hightailing it back to safer territory whilst being pressured from behind. Definitely the worst kind of pressure. And now we finally seem to have some T3 units on the ground there from Chosen, busy mopping up those Harbingers, which have been causing so many issues for Team 2. Ember's airdropping an engineer, no doubt, to try and pick up that mechs, but that will not be allowed to happen. Definitely won't be allowed to happen. Heroic quantities of overkill there that engineer absorbed. A few Percys in the background advancing from Ioma. One hero Harbinger on the ridge, doing what he can in terms of micro to avoid that enormous alpha strike from the Percival, and then the relief of the land coming in to save it. So it will live to fight another day. But back on the eastern edge of the map, a little bit of a breakout there from Soviet Pride. I think that's probably going to be stalled though. A couple of bricks in place from Mr. Death and Harbingers on the field there in the centre from Embers. Not going to allow those pillars to advance. Yes, we have Percivals, but they haven't all advanced in clear formation. Excellent micro from Team 1. That Ravager is online in the centre there from Soviet Pride. Nothing in range of it, but that is probably because it's killed everything. And just as I said, look at that. Soviet Pride being a douche. Always nice to see. More Ravagers, please. Up the riverbank there. And that completes and immediately spools up to kill what else is in range. And that could be a horde of engineers in the distance, perhaps. Nope. Just out of range as well, it would seem. Yes, indeedy. Well, missing out on a few things there. We've got a lot of stuff in range on this side. So, slight software fail on board there. Perhaps it was a command set up on that Oblivion turret, assuming that would be in range, but it certainly isn't. Forward one, very optimistic indeed, taking fire from a sniper bot nearby, but of course all the Oblivion turrets there have to do is to reprioritize the Ravager. But look at that, one volley from each of the Ravagers. T2PD dispatched, thank you very much. Quick stealth field generator, and suddenly this whole area becomes a little bit of a no-go zone for Team 1. So very nice work indeed from Soviet Pride. And another group of Percivals coming out from the east. Doesn't like the look of the quantity of bricks bearing down. How you could push through that? Come on. That's the problem you see when a Cybran player switches to UEF. Doesn't rely on the superior technology. Advance. L'Oreal, because you're worth it. Advanced serum. But a Monkey Lord on the field now for Mr. Death, and that certainly changes the dynamic in the center of the field. Soviet Pride ducking back into the river. Very wise decision indeed. Those two forward Ravagers are down. Another one further back here getting a few shots in. But that Monkey Lord still looking pretty healthy on 38,000 HP. Let's say Chosen has been a little bit quiet in this one so far. We do have an Ethota that is on the way. Upgrade going to be finished first there. Bling bling money money done. No doubt that was the RAS upgrade on Chosen. Installing medicine pack. So hefty comm on the way by the looks of things there for Chosen. That Spider bot's still taking Ravager fire down into the yellow now. 28,000 odd HP, but a ton of UEF engineers getting slaughtered there. Free vet, thank you very much. But the Eastern Plateau looks in danger of being wiped out here by Soviet Pride, who's in the region with a fair few Percivals, and the bricks are rolling off in a reasonably quick fashion. But it's not going to be quick enough, I don't think. And that will be the end of those two T3 factories. Monkey Lord not trying to come in to save it, instead deciding to push on. I like what Soviet Pride's done there. He's ducked back out of the river nice and quickly to rebuild that Ravager. All the time, of course, that Monkey Lord taking a little bit more fire. But very nice work indeed from Soviet Pride in this one. That Eastern Plateau for Team 1 well and truly broken now. The last structure is destroyed. Chevalier pushing forward with some harms. He's going to run headfirst into Soviet Pride's comm. And of course now we've got these Ravagers being sprung up everywhere. Got a little bit of a Ravager creep this time going on the southern side of the river. Chevalier not enjoying the Percy pressure coming up from Hyoma. I imagine he's not enjoying the Ravager spam or indeed the units from Chosen. He's being picked apart here by multiple opponents. Both teams look like they're in possession of some pretty decent air forces. Let's take a look who's ahead. I think it might be Team 1. So it looks like we've got 41 ASFs in the center of the map there for Canis. And Chevalier on 67. So Team 1 with the advantage in the air game, but so far the air game not really playing a dramatic part in this one. But this might be a bit of a turnaround here as that Monkey Lord comes around the cusp of the river here at the top and pressures this forward position. Hasn't got a lot of HP left though. 13,000 hit points remain. And stealth causing all kinds of problems there. You see those Ravagers not spooling up on it. Chosen's Ethota completed. Didn't stick around to try and defend against the Monkey Lord, and instead is going to push right up. Chevalier has produced a GC, and that's going to head backwards towards base. GC against the Ethota should just about work out better for the GC. But look at that quick rank of veterancy, restores a chunk of health. That Monkey Lord can continue its rampage. Chosen needs to get some defense going quickly. Another Ethota being thrown together as quickly as possible. What is going on down here? Massive mass fab farms by the looks of things there from Chosen. Don't often see that these days, not from the pros certainly. Always assumed it was too inefficient, but there we go. This should do the trick though. Ton of broadswords brought in by Canis. A lot of damage on those T3 UEF gunships, and that's provoked an air response from Chevalier, and it's gone rather well for Team 1. Well, the question is, will they manage to kill off the Monkey Lord before the broadswords die? Yes, they are. There it goes. The broadswords unlikely to make it back to base. One extra silver lining for Team 1 as we've got a little bit of flare fire picking off a few ASFs here and there. But it won't be dramatic. The Ethota and the GC took each other out, so no progress was made on that one. Another GC on the way, this time from Embers, front of the main base. Yeah, Chosen looking like he wants to eco like crazy. Can't remember the last time I saw large mass fab farms queued up in a pro level game. I guess it's because it's not strictly pro on pro. Maybe it's because he's facing the odd Joe in this one, and also they're a player ahead, but I wouldn't say they're necessarily ahead in the game. Chevalier on 355, of course that's essentially on 2 base, so got to take that into account. Soviet Pride on 210, Chosen on 260, Cody's on 200, 128 there for Mr. Death, 231 there for Hyoma, and Ember's on 170. I'd still say Eco kind of looks like it's going in favor of Team 1. But still that band of forces up at the top right roaming from Soviet Pride, denying any requirement there for Mr. Death. Just a few units up front there for Embers. Asylum adding extra defensive capabilities, but that shield is quickly dispatched. Just look at the damage those Percivals do. Huge alpha strike. There go the forward units, and now we're getting a little bit of sorry, I was about to say flapjack, but it's not. It's T3 mobile missile launchers, the Spearheads, one of the highest damage units, non-experimental units in the game. It's out huge amounts of damage, those excellent for base bombardment, picking off those forward factories and forward mexes. But he's going to want to pull those back. GC inbound there from Embers. Soviet Pride's ACU still out front in the middle of the map, plopping down Ravagers as and when he can. Over on the west we've got another Monkey Lord online. That's already killed 30 units, but that's now taking Fat Boy fire from Yoma's Fat Boy coming up from the south. I really think we're going to have to go to split screen here to keep an eye on these two fronts. Chosen coming in from the west of that GC, going to fire a few shots into the back of it. Not ideal there for Embers. Chevalier queuing up a ton of GCs from the river. Some good stationing there from Mr. Death with that Monkey Lord getting in behind that hill, preventing that Fat Boy from doing any damage. And I actually like the decision of that Fat Boy, Yoma, not to continue to pressure. That would be an excellent way to lose it, especially now with a ton of restorers coming in. And we haven't had a look at the air game to see if Cody's has managed to re-establish a decent air force. Well, he has got a few there over the center of the map, but nowhere near enough, I think, to deal with all that restorer spam. So I think we're probably going to be looking at a dead Fat Boy, although there are a few skyboxers in there. But Embers will lose that GC, and that's in pretty prime position for Team 2 to reclaim there. So I'll be saying thank you very much for the mass gift. Another experimental coming in from Mr. Death. But in come the restorers in the west, going after the skyboxers at first, and I think that's actually going to allow that Fat Boy to escape. I just feel like if they'd have gone straight after the Fat Boy, they might have got it. Would have lost a few more restorers in the process, of course, but it would have been a trade worth making. Mass Fab Farm still on the way there from Chosen. Hasn't made huge amounts of progress, but they are incredibly expensive, especially T3s. T2 much more efficient for what you get, of course. But the payoff is still slight for the time and investment. Especially when you've got the quantity of units thrown at you that Team 1 seem to be putting out now. Another air battle kicks off over in the west. That's going to go well for Chevalier once again, not due in no small part, of course, to the Restorer's presence on top of it. Chosen dipping a toe into the air game as well, but still not enough to tip the balance. And now we've got that megalith in the east retreating under Fatboy fire, this time from Soviet Pride. And suddenly he says, nah, you know what? That is not my style, and instead begins a march forward. Soviet Pride, paying close attention, isn't going to allow that megalith to get in range, and in fact is changing tack to help Chosen's Ethota pressure that GC from Embers that's turned up in the middle of the map. We'll probably go back to single screen now. Quick pausing of the game for 2 seconds. And that Ethota survives just barely with 8.5k HP. Of course, quick target reprioritization from the megalith, and he'd be able to deal with that. That megalith seems intent on chasing down that fat boy, and to its credit has managed to break its way in here. Ethota, a couple of shots, and it's going to be down. There it goes. And that immediately restores a chunk of health in terms of veterancy for that megalith. And I cannot believe it. Novak's in operation there from Soviet Pride. True Cybran player there. Has to pick the one unsavory unit from the UEF and build it immediately. Megalith with 69 kills today, down to about 40k, taking a lot of off and fire there from Chosen, and is about to be facing renewed Fatboy pressure there from Soviet Pride. And of course that other Ethota we saw building a moment ago coming in from Chosen will be enough to force that Megalith to desist and change tack. Good work from Chosen, picking up as much mass as he can. I'll take a look at the key players in this one to see who has scooped the most so far. 63,000 climbing for Chevalier. Chosen on 47,000. Soviet Pride on 38. Cody's on 13. Hyoma on 11. Mr. Death on 44. And Embers on 46. So of course Chevalier way out in front, 63. Of course, did get an awful lot of assistance on that front with reclaiming Robo Danny's base, but still I think might well have been in the lead either way. But look at this phalanx bearing down on the center of the map. That is unreal from Chevalier. Going to come in with the Restorers. That's going to prompt a response from Cody's ASFs. We do have a fair few static T3 anti-airs in place, so that's going to be the end of the Restorers. But the amount of firepower coming in on the ground from the experimentals that are converging from all directions from Team 1. We've got a Monkey Lord and a GC there from Chevalier, GC from Embers, Megalith coming down from Mr. Death. One friendly Ethota trying to combat the two at the top there from Chosen, and of course Soviet Pride with the Fat Boy in the center. But there's so much condensed firepower from Team 2. I think they are going to break Chosen's forward base in one heavy push. Down goes the Fat Boy. Chosen is legging it for his life. Does have 21,000 HP on the con, but down goes his Ethota up front. The Megalith still alive on 12,000 HP, and the GC very healthy on 75,000. This is suddenly, and I mean suddenly, taken a dramatically bad turn for the worst for Team 2. And as Hyoma desperately tries to move his way towards the center to stop this impending push of doom from Chevalier, he's never going to get there in time. We do have a GC up here that's taking fire from those two Fat Boys, and that's going to decide not to continue to push right now. But the damage is going to be done. The Monkey Lord and the GC still look very healthy indeed, and they are just tearing it up with this group of Harbingers in tow as well. Another Fat Boy online further back, but what on earth, if anything, have Team 2 got to stop this? It really doesn't seem like anything at all, and a nuke launcher was online in there, but that goes up in a huge explosion as another mass fab farm, this time belonging to Canis, was obviously taking a note out of Chosen's book there, and then gets his comm destroyed, caught lurking at the back, and that is going to be the end of Team 2, who just collapsed under one swift push from Chevalier, with a bit of assistance there from the north from Embers and Mr. Death. And I'm astonished at how much of that initial force is still alive. The Novax is destroyed. The Fat Boy is running for its life, but I get the distinct impression that Soviet Pride's base is not going to withstand this attack either. Down goes the Monkey Lord. The GC still in the yellow on 52,000 and falling. The Fat Boys from Hioma are entering the western edge of the base, but it is too late. There is literally nothing left. Everything has been destroyed. That is absolutely ghastly for Team 2. Fat Boy remains chosen out here with his ACU. We've got more experimentals coming down from Embers down in the center. Chevalier could totally push now down this western edge, but I don't think he actually needs to. The core of Team 2's base has just been ripped out. Hioma, the only one with any prospect of eco or production still left intact. All of his teammates have been ruined. Soviet Pride on 100, Hioma on 177. Chosen down to 119. Cody's out of the game. Those two Fat Boys trying to do everything they can to possibly keep those two GCs from Embers out of the base, but really might as well just push in, send them in. Why not? One of them down, but you could probably catch that Fat Boy, at least one of them. It's going to be close. Taking dual Fat Boy fire, but as the shield collapse, the HP evaporates. Such is the life of the Fat Boy. Do not let a GC get close to you, or anything else that has direct fire for that matter. The second one might just survive. Shield is down, but has just enough HP to survive. Goodness gracious me. And now another force from Chevalier, who has profited so much from the earlier demise of Robo Danny. It's unreal. Suddenly breaking out in this game. Now with 3 GCs bearing down on Hioma's forward position, who's getting his second Novax up. Immediately decides to stop working on that, sends the rover drones in. Don't see a lot of those around either these days. Starts them working on some Ravagers, but you know what? I have a feeling at least one of these GCs is going to break this base. Could very well be more than that left by the time this is over. The shield collapses at the front. Down goes 3 Ravagers, and those GCs still look pretty healthy. Janus coming in, going after the left GC. Down goes the Novax, and Hioma with a personal shield, but that is not going to last any time at all against 3 GC. GG! Boom, baby! Hioma bows out at 42 minutes. I cannot believe how comprehensively Team 2 have buckled in the last 5 minutes. Chevalier throwing out the GG after Soviet Pride there. And really, what if anything are you two going to do about it now? Soviet Pride and Chosen, to his credit, managed to finish more or less one of the mass fab farms down here. But it's not going to stay alive for very long. Those GCs continue their march through the ruins of Hyoma's old base and straight into that mass fab farm, which will immediately chain. There it goes. Chosen making a run for it. Soviet Pride, I love your optimism. Starts work on another fat boy. Chosen getting an upgrade on his ACU there, but he'll be able to repel this GC. But Azar, they will not be able to repel. As that comes steaming in, Chosen control case his commander. The exclamation from Soviet Pride upon seeing the experimental aircraft carrier control cases come also. GG indeed. What a very entertaining 4v4. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. There's always more to come from me in the future. But in the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.